Hey members, this is Charles Lewis and welcome to this episode of our monthly audio issues. Got some great stuff to talk about today and really to help you earn a great living in photography as the world hopefully puts itself back together here. Joining me today, as always, of course, is my son and business partner, Todd. Hi, Todd.
Hello, Dad. Hello, members. I do believe that our world will put itself back together. It just takes a little bit of time. Healing is a difficult thing, and the more we can help it heal as a society, the better off we're going to be. So there's my social commentary for the day. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited about what we came up with for this issue, which is an idea that Tom really wanted to talk about and I think is super qualified to talk about, but we'll get to that in a minute. Just a quick overview. Also joining us today is the person that came up with our idea for our main subject today, also a longtime contributor to the Online Vault and the Inner Circle, Tom Morelli. Hello, Tom.
Thank you, oh healing one. You're the doctor of healing here today, at least. Or we're a team working on that. Hi, Chuck. Hi, Todd. And hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Hey, great to have you here today, Tom.
Yep, always good to have your insight and so much of what we're talking about today, as everything that we talk about here, you're putting into action on a daily basis in your photography business there in Maine. So just a little overview of what we're going to cover here. First of all, we, as always, have our success video or audio program from the Online Vault that we want to call your attention to. We have a big thought for the month with my father, Charles Lewis. We have a member's question. This one's a wonderful one submitted about dealing with clients who are trying to bargain with you, which, spoiler alert, might impact our role-playing coming up, but we'll get to that. Our main subject for this issue, which is connecting locally, how to find clients and photographic opportunities right in your own backyard, extremely timely as it's ever been. It's always something that's important, always something that's very effective, but with everything happening in the world right now and with things opening back up to varying degrees, boy, oh boy, is this stuff going to be even extra important right now. And then we have our mini role-playing example for this issue, which is going to be tied to our question from our members. So you'll get to hear it kind of approached from two different angles, including our mini role-play. Then we have our Lewisized law of photography success, and we will wrap up with our lighting and posing tip from Tom Morelli, which is know thy equipment like the back of thy hand. Ooh, I like that. Excellent. As always, a lot of stuff to cover. We're going to dive right in so we can get right into the meat of what we have to cover here, starting with our recommended program on the Online Vault. As you all know, the resource that you have at your fingertips is extensive. There's a lot of stuff on there. You might not always know even everything that's on there if you're just searching for specific things, which is what the Online Vault is really intended for. But there might be some things that you might miss. And so what I wanted to call your attention to this month, and you'll see that it kind of ties into a good chunk of what we're going to talk about in our main subject today. So I thought this was perfect to call your attention to if you didn't know it existed. And that is our exhibit and display generating letter or email template that's available on the Online Vault. You can't have been a member of ours for any long period of time without realizing the degree to which we believe that exhibits and displays in your community are paramount to your success. They are potentially the single best marketing tool that you have at your disposal. And if you're not doing it, you absolutely should be. And we have a very specific way that we recommend you go about getting the exhibits in your community. And that is to actually just meet with the people in person, to go to the establishment, walk in their front door and talk to a human being. That is absolutely hands down the way we recommend doing it, all right? So I want to be really clear about that. However, if for some reason you absolutely don't want to do that, or you absolutely feel you can't go in and meet with them for some reason, which, there are very few reasons why you absolutely can't. But if there's a reason why you absolutely can't or don't want to, we wanted to give you another option, which is this exhibit generating letter, or it can be sent again as an email. So check that out on the Online Vault. All you do is download it, make a few changes to it, tweak it to put in your name where you need and anything like that. And then you can send that out to people to start that ball rolling about getting exhibit. Again, want to be super clear. We don't recommend doing this. This is not the number one way to do it. But if you're terrified or you just, there's no way I'm going to meet with a person in person, all right, then this is the next best thing. Okay, so to find this exhibit generating letter on the Online Vault, simply go to the Online Vault, put in your username and password, type the words exhibit letter into the search bar, exhibit letter, and it'll be, as of now, it'll be the second thing that comes up. So you'll just have to scroll down. For some reason, the first thing, which I'm not exactly sure how exhibit letter ended up in there, but it'll be the second thing that you scroll down to, and there it is. You can download it and start using it instantly. Dad, just very quickly, anything you want to add? I know you're going to already second what I already said twice, but anything else you want to add about this exhibit generating letter?
No, just that exhibits, like you said, are the single best marketing system for photography. Get your stuff out in the community. It's extremely important. I don't care if you don't want to do it. I didn't want to do it either. But you push yourself. Remember, successful photographers force themselves to learn and do the things that the failures don't want to learn or do. So you can do this. Go for it.
Yeah. Tom, how important have exhibits been and continue to be in your photography business?
Extremely. I wouldn't be here, or at least not nearly as successful, because indeed people are afraid to come to a quote unquote studio and kick the tires, so to speak, where they're looking at photographs. But when they're out and about and enjoying themselves, and they're at where your target market is shopping or dining or having their hair and nails done, they're subtly seeing these and going, wow, those are beautiful. And it's 24/7. You can be in bed sleeping and these things could be working for you. So it's extremely important to do. And one thing I'll say about this particular template download is that just by reading that template download, it's going to give you information that you can talk about in person. So you might read the template download and go, I know this stuff. I could go in and talk about this. I don't need to email or send this. I'll go in and be the letter myself. So it's really great information within that template.
That's a great point, Tom. A wonderful point. So it might help you even in the crafting of your script or what you think you'll say when you go in and meet with them. Check it out. No matter what approach you're going to take, I think you'll find a lot there. So visit the Online Vault regularly. Visit frequently. Anytime you have a question or a challenge or something you don't know how to deal with in your photography business, go to the Online Vault first and type it in the search bar. Look around. You'll probably find a great in-depth answer to your question, probably multiple in-depth answers to your question on that huge and constantly growing resource that you all have access to. Next up is our big thought for the month. Dad, each month you like to give us a thought for people to keep in mind as they're working through their photography business and sometimes even generally in life itself. What is our big thought for this month?
Yeah, this is a really biggie thing. I got to tell you. I started with nothing, no money, no reputation, no friends in the community, no nothing. And a wife and two wonderful children that needed to be supported. Sherry was not working. I mean, I've been there. I know what it's like. I know it's difficult. But I got to tell you, these 11 words are what started the revolution in my mind about building a business that is extremely successful and profitable. And it's not what you think. Here's the 11 words. Many people are attracted more to passion than to saving money. Many people are attracted more to passion than to saving money. So when you're doing your marketing and when you're doing all the things you do to try to get clients coming in, don't just aim at the money, big savings, discounts, blah, blah, blah. No, you are dealing in an emotional product, and your target market are emotionally right brain dominant people. And those are the people who are attracted more to passion than to saving money. That can let them see your love, your passion, your enthusiasm about what it is that you do. Let them see it. You love it or you wouldn't be doing it. So let them see it and feel it, because that will attract them to you, because that's what they're looking for, someone who loves what he or she does.
Yeah, and that's interesting, Dad, because we just got done.
Yep.
You thought this too, didn't you? We just got done with a consultation session about an hour before doing this recording with one of our longtime students and a great consulting student. And we talked about exactly that. about how important it is to realize what it is that drives your target market. What drives it? What really is going to be at the heart of their decision making? And more times than not, it's not the price. That is not number one. That is not number one. Yes, for some people, this is the maximum budget I have. Absolutely. Of course, sure. But more times than not, when your marketing is reaching your target market, that is not going to be the most important thing. The emotion is the most important thing. Everything behind the passion of why they want or feel or need something. So very important. Great point. Tom, anything you want to add about that thought for the month?
Yeah, just looking at those words, many people, that doesn't mean everybody, which is great because as we talk about so often, you have to be willing to let some people walk away. So if you're passionate and emotional in your marketing and also, of course, your conversations on the telephone and in person, the people who will be attracted to that type of personality and that type of marketing are the ones we want to work with because they're passionate about their family or their loved ones and passionate about getting something beautiful if they can any way afford it somehow. It's like a moth in a flame. You are this brilliant flame, smiling and excited and happy and fun to work with. And those type of people that we would like to have as our clients are attracted to that type of personality. So I've had many times where people go, boy, we saved up for this, but we really wanted you, and right if they love the photographer, then they'll love the photography, but it's not necessarily the other way around. So you've got to be someone they really want to be around.
Next up is our members' question for this issue. And Dad, knowing that we're going to be able to do this as part of our role play, our mini role play today as well, I know that you probably won't have to spend quite as much time on it here because they're going to hear an exact example of how we deal with this particular stall or objection. But this was a great question that we got in from David. Dad, what was this question?
Yeah, he says, what do you do when a client tries to bargain with you over the price? I just had a client asked to get 3 8x10s for about half of our price. How do you handle this situation? Thank you very much, David. Excellent question, David. And we don't talk about this anywhere near as much as I would like to because every once in a while you're going to come across somebody who's going to try to negotiate with you, and you have to have a pre-planned, strong but friendly response to it. You're not going to be offended. You're certainly not going to give them what they want. I'm sorry, but we are in this business to be profitable or we won't be here next year. So it's an important part of your business. But you do have to have a good way to respond. And your response, as you will hear in our role play, is going to be that, as much as I would love to be able to do that, there's no way I can do that. It wouldn't be fair to all my other clients who love what we do and are investing the full amount, and then I like to say a little something about our prices are calculated very carefully to assure that we do make a profit so that we're here next year, but also that we can take the time to do it right and create images that you're going to dearly love. And then you always end a statement of any kind with a question, right? So then you throw a question on the end of it, which is known in the sales world as a trial close, to find out where he or she is in the process. So you can say, how do you feel about that? Or you could say, you do love these images, right? Which is one of my favorites because they're going to respond, well, yeah, I love them, but you've got to be kidding me. There's got to be some, I'm not made of gold. There must be some, and we'll do a role play so you'll get a good feel for it.
Yeah, dealing with those kinds of questions, that's what makes the difference between a successful photographer and an unsuccessful one. I mean, it's if they just come to you and they're like, yeah, money's no object, and yeah, I love every single image, and yeah, we don't have to go home and think about anything, and I don't have to consult with anybody else. Here's your money. If that's how easy it were, we would all be extremely successful photographers all the time. And when's the last time that happened?
I've got to stop here, Todd, because I have a story. I have a story that I almost never tell. In fact, Todd, I don't even know if you've ever heard this story. And we've been working together forever. But I had one time, and one time only in my entire career, I'm talking on the telephone with this, happened to be a gentleman, we know how that goes, but it happened to be a gentleman. and not a female, a woman. And we were talking about photography, and he had a daughter that he wanted to get into modeling. She wanted to get into modeling, and so he wanted to help. And at some point during my asking questions and stuff off the telecharts, he said, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. Money is no object. I want it right. I want it good. I want her to succeed. I don't have to come in and chat with you. There's no money is okay. And of course, I'm not going to break my rules, right? I have a way of running a business. I have a system. And so I set up a time to get together and chat, no charge, no obligation. And yes, he did show up. And when I started the volunteer statement, he went ballistic. It was so shocking and funny because what one person says money is no object, he's thinking, how much could it possibly cost? $100? How much could it possibly cost? And someone else might say money is no object, meaning I'm a billion trillionaire and I'll pay thousands and thousands and thousands. They just because they say that, you have no idea what that means. So never get sucked in. If you ever happen to have somebody say that to you, be very cautious. But have you ever heard that story, Todd?
I have not. Nope, that's a new one.
I thought so.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I have something that you have never heard before, because you know everything. But that one I just very seldom talk about, but I couldn't pass that up.
Right. So pay attention when we get to the mini role playing of exactly how to deal with that stall, because that, again, is what makes the difference between success and failure. It's about how you handle the people that do complain, that do have stalls, that do have objections. That's what makes the difference. As much as the quality of your work, the choice of your lenses, your ability to light and pose, this is vital. Next up is our main subject for this audio issue, connecting locally. How to find clients and photographic opportunities right in your own backyard. This is a subject that was recommended or suggested by Tom. I think it's a brilliant concept, a brilliant subject to talk about today, because just again of what's happening in our world as things are opening back up or closing back down a little, opening back up a little, things going a little bit back and forth. And believe me, your status locally, your reputation locally, the relationships that you form in your community are very important, because we are a community-driven business. Unless you're a destination photographer, unless you're traveling all over the place or people are coming to you from all over the place, you're photographing people in your community, and that's your bread and butter. So that's why I think this is a great, timely subject. Thank you for suggesting it, Tom. And if I can ask you, Tom, what was it that made you want to talk about this specifically right now?
Well, so many things happen in and around my city that pertain to me being in business for this long. And lately, it's really been, I guess, because people are kind of getting back into shopping and back into calling me, that these come up where I see people and I hear people that say, oh, I heard about you through this avenue and this avenue. And sometimes it's not the traditional way of our marketing that we talk so often about. So I thought I'd show some of the little twists and things. And some of these things I don't think I've ever talked about on here at all, that have worked for me well. So these are all things that I have done or do currently that I think may be helpful for you if you're going, well, we're just starting the engine back up here and I don't have many people in my appointment book. So hopefully some of these things will give you a little jump start on that.
I'm sure they will. I have no doubt of that. And that's what's great about these audio programs. You can take them with you anywhere, listen to them anywhere. And if you get one great idea, it can totally transform the way you do business. And here we're going to give you a whole bunch that, again, are geared toward making that connection locally, making that connection as a local business that is community oriented. And Dad, I know you're going to have some stuff to chime in with here. I'm going to let the two of you do the majority of the talking. I might chime in if I've got a little something to say in addition, but looking at the great list that both of you have accumulated here, I want to make sure we've got time to talk about each of these. So these are in no particular order necessarily. They're just kind of, but they're all things that can be applied as you're working locally, as you're working with clients you've already worked with, as you're working on getting clients that you haven't worked with before. So go ahead, Tom. What is your first thing you want to talk about in building these relationships locally?
Well, you've heard us talk so often about becoming famous in your community. And of course, that's where our target market lives. I realize some people have destination weddings, people from out of state or out of town. But primarily in my business, it's within this 20, 25-mile radius. There's plenty of people over my last 40 years. So I did this the other day. The first one I'm going to talk about is, and I've never mentioned this, I don't think, is, we have a lot of folks that invest in gift certificates for their family or a loved one. And in some places, there are businesses that will give their employees gift certificates from us for baby plans quite often. They'll call me and they'll say, hey, we have so-and-so is having a baby and we'd like to get one of your baby plans, and they'll sign up for it. So whenever I have the opportunity to do this, I will deliver the gift certificate customized and printed with the information they need to the recipient's workplace with their permission, of course. I let them know I'm going to do this. So I did this just the other day. It was great. So I grabbed some flowers. I got a couple of balloons, and I went into this accountant's office who sends me a ton of people. And I said, I'm going to do something different now. I've never done this with you guys before, but I think this will be fun. Walked in with the flowers and balloons, and it looked like I was from, what is it, Publishers Clearinghouse? All it was missing, I didn't bring a large check with me or Ed McMahon, but I came to the front desk and delivered this to the person who had purchased it from me, which is the office manager, who usually is the go-through. And then they have a little mini party at the end of the day. So I said, I thought you might want to add these to your little table. Oh, and everybody came out, all these females, because it's mostly females that work in this particular office. Oh, who are you? Oh my gosh, I've heard about you. Oh, that's so cool. And suddenly my brand in that office is someone that is having fun and smiling and laughing, and we're talking about their baby. Some of them were expecting. Another one said she wanted to sign up for our baby plan right there. And I said, well, let me get back to the office and I'll call you with the information. So doing something different, being memorable, and this is one of those ways of doing it, is delivering. If someone gets a gift certificate, make an offer to say, I can have this delivered as a surprise. We're all local. I'm not driving hundreds of miles to do this. This was 4 or 5 miles from my studio. But boy, just leaving, as I left, there was this aura. This whole office was on fire with, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much fun. And look, all these flowers are beautiful. And I mean, I might have paid $14 or something for the spray of flowers. It wasn't like I got a dozen roses and all this stuff. Just something really sweet and smiley. So if you have a chance to deliver a gift certificate to an office or any place where someone works, again, with the permission, you don't want to just walk in and disturb their work, but find out the right time. It can make a huge impression.
Yeah, and the key to this whole thing is in local, making connections locally. You are the business. You are the business. And so I think it was Donald Jack. I can't remember. He said, you're not going to make any money in the dark. He was talking about, don't have your own dark room. That was back in the black and white days. And certainly in the beginning of color, don't do it yourself, have somebody else do it. And he also said, you're not going to make any money sitting around in your studio waiting for the stupid telephone to ring. Get yourself out of the studio, get out there. You are a person. You have a personality. Be friendly, be outgoing, get out there. And so what Tom has just done with that is he has set in the mind of all the people in that office a kind, friendly, enthusiastic face to go with who he is. And that is so huge in building a long-term successful photography business locally. That's what we do. Good stuff, Tom.
Thanks.
What's number 2?
Oh, thank you. And I was going to say, I hate to make it political at all, but if you get out there and, kiss the babies and shake hands, that's why they do that, because people vote for someone they like. As my personality politics, and it kind of gets into the same thing here, And so number 2 is, we have exhibits and displays all over the community, and rewarding the workers where your displays are for knowing who you are. So I think I got this from you, Chuck, years ago, but we've not really talked about it much, where I'll walk into the bank, I'll walk into the exhibit or display at the hair salon and just see maybe someone that doesn't know me that works there. And I'll say, hey, who did these photographs? Or I'll ask the people behind the counter at the bank or wherever it is, children's clothing store, and I'll say, do you know who did these? The first one that says, oh, those are from Thomas Morelli. Or it's good to know if somebody goes, I don't know, because we want to make sure if clients or prospects are there admiring the work, even though they can see your signature, maybe they aren't close enough to read it or they just don't take the time. to have that on the fingertips or the lips of the people that work there, go, oh, that's Thomas Morelli. Oh, and then they talk about you. So that you're not even there, but they're pushing your brand, so to speak. But, oh, I know. Oh, he's a great guy. He comes in and puts these up. So we have little baskets. I take something from like Bed Bath & Beyond or something, and my wife and daughter are really good at me not buying the wrong stuff. You know, oh, that stuff smells too funny. So they'll give me a little tip. Sometimes they'll go shopping for me. And just a little basket, again, I'm talking under $20 of maybe hand cream or soap or something non-allergenic, so you don't make someone sneeze, nothing too scented. And just walk in and say, you are correct. And guess what? You're this month's winner, and you get this basket for knowing who it was. And the rest of the people go, oh, I knew you too. So anytime I go in, I'll go in to cash a check or make a deposit, and they'll all say Thomas Morelli, and I'm like, today's not the day, girls, but thanks for remembering me. So rewarding the workers where your displays are to make sure everyone there knows who you are can really help. And then you've got lift cards there too that make sure that they, while you're there, they're filled up, and everyone knows those are there as well.
And you can see again how he's showing his personality, being friendly, being hospitable, going around in town. That's what he's doing. And also there's a sentence in the world of management that says what gets rewarded gets repeated. And he's using that a little bit too. Very good. What's number 3?
Number 3 is at volunteer events. Whether you're doing photography or, put the camera away and just go work in a soup kitchen, go work somewhere where you're rubbing elbows with movers and shakers. And we've talked about volunteering before, but I found often if you have a personality and smiling, if there is a TV, usually TV coverage is there. And they're there to do a quick little package to put on the 6 o'clock news, the 11 o'clock news, local. And, they'll say, well, that guy over there is having a great time. So you are attracting them. And I can't tell you the times that people are like, I saw you on TV again, and they're like, they're always interviewing you because you're such a good interview. And I'm not saying that in a braggadocious way. It's just that I know from having worked a little bit in media, they're looking for something that in a 15 or 30-second clip is going to grab viewers. And say, if you're talking about the event and how much fun it is, the event loves it. The organization you're working with loves that, but also the television station makes their job easier. Matter of fact, there's one particular channel that calls me One Take Tom, because they say every time we ask you a question, you don't stumble and fumble. You have it ready to go. And then we also add, they have the Chiron under my name, Thomas Morelli, owner Thomas Morelli Photography and brewer. I'm like, remember, 1 R, 2 L's. And so getting to those events where there might be television or press, there's also usually some sort of local newspaper there that's asking and maybe even taking photographs. So check out volunteer events you can work at where maybe you see that they have coverage, fundraisers, things like that are also big. And sometimes you're coincidentally there with an auction gift certificate as well. But even if you're not, look for the person with the TV and kind of get in the way and see if you can get on TV. That's a big, big one for me.
Yeah, and plus you're volunteering, I happen to know because we know you so well, you're volunteering at things that you really believe in as well.
Right.
So you're doing good for the community as well. It's a two-way street, What's number 4?
Number 4, if you can be a grand prize at a radio station. Now, local radio stations still have local DJ personalities. A lot of stuff is piped in nationally and they share those feeds, but we still have several stations in our area that are very popular. Morning drive, I'm talking, that 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 a.m. They have local personalities on there, and often they do remote, so they have giveaways. So if you can give the grand prize, so I've done this before for Valentine's Day, or married couples submit their stories, and the winner gets a prize package. And I always try to be the largest grand prize package at the radio station. And they'll talk about you for weeks because they'll say, hey, remember, next month we're having this, this, and this, and you can win up to a $1,200 portrait package from Thomas Morelli Photography, whatever you want to put in there. But I try to make it large enough so that, A, it's impressive, B, the people are thrilled with it, obviously, and that it's always front of mind because they'll say, grand prize worth $2,000 including, and they'll list the larger ones at first because there's a lot of small stuff on there too. And many times I've been invited either live or on the phone call to come in and talk or help to draw the winner or do something. So you can check with your local radio station. Again, these are local personalities, local DJs, men and women that are getting up in your community. They kind of may already know you or heard of you, and that helps. And just say, hey, I've got an idea for you. Maybe we can get together and, maybe reward people for the best volunteers or, the best frontline people, nurses and EMTs and things. Let's pick some of those folks to get some recognition on the air, and I'll help you be the spokesperson for that. So radio stuff, it's kind of a natural, and it's 100,000-watt station. It reaches hundreds of miles in every direction.
Right on. And you can also work with other kind of trade outs. That's what I have
Right.
experience with, is doing trade outs with radio stations where you photograph all their disc jockeys, create really nice images of them. And in return for that, you get advertising space, and they'll do the talk over, themselves. And there's things you can do that don't cost you hardly anything at all. It just takes a little time, and you're not as busy as you would like to be. So why not get out in that community and start building these relationships with people? Good stuff.
And if I can add one thing to that, Chuck, inevitably, every single time we've done this, the grand prize winner gets, treated the same way through our system. So we do the consultation, we do the go-see, we do all the things that we normally do, including projection. Every single time they're like, well, we bothered to do this. We haven't done this ever or for a while. So let's get, additional portraits for our family and friends and so forth, or for our home. So it always ends up being something that more than pays for itself.
Absolutely. Terrific. How about number 5 on your list?
All right. Many years ago, I walked into our local city hall here in Brewer, and I saw some photographs of the current mayor at that time, and it was just like a snapshot. It wasn't very good. This is during the film days, and this is before web pages, but I got talking and joking around with the city clerk. I was paying something. I can't remember what the bill was, some tax bill or something, and I said, boy, that photo, tell the mayor that if he ever wants a better photograph, I'll do a first one pro bono. We'll bring it in, we'll put it on the wall because, he's really good and deserves this. And they took me up on it. So the mayor came to my studio, and we photographed him, and we put up a 1620 framed. It was beautiful. And, of course, since the mayor only serves a term or two, every couple of years for the last 20 some odd years, they're like, hey, we got somebody new now. It's time for another one. And of course, with the digital age coming in, web pages, they use them a ton online, and you get credit for that. And I get paid, I've always gotten paid for it since that one, of course, which extended also to city council. Then I started doing the fire department and the police department, and they'd invest in these, 40 by 60 or long skinny prints, is like 30 by 60s of these big groups, like 60 or 70 firefighters and public safety folks. And of course, it's on the webpage. So my recommendation to you is go to your local town or city webpage and see what they have for photographs. What does the mayor, does the city council, do they have anything decent? It doesn't have to be in the studio. Most of mine are studio, but a lot are on location as well. And check and see if all the departments, I photograph water and sewer, all these. It's the only commercial job I do because I don't have to work for it. They call me and they pay me well. So, but check their website and say, my little town here doesn't have very good representation, and it's all about image. And especially if you do the first one pro bono and get them kind of hooked, so that puppy dog law, get that one up on the wall, and then anybody after that's going to go, well, I want one of those too. And away you go. And that's a good way to get famous in your community, because I've had times when the local newspaper came and took a photograph of me photographing the mayor, things like that, human interest things. You can just call your local, even if it's a small, those weekly papers that give coupons. Say, hey, you want a human interest story? You're going to photograph the mayor today. Come on over.
Perfect. Beautiful. And you're known by the people you work with.
Right.
So this connects you with some of the movers and shakers of your community. What's number 6, Tom?
All right. If you're out and about, whether it's on business or personal visits, you're kind of always on. Meaning that people are, especially as you get better known, people are always watching you. So you better be, dress well. I'm not saying you always have to dress up, but just be aware that people are going to notice you, And so, but often I get stopped and people will say, hey, you're standing and then looking at a hamburger, how much it's gone up in price or something. And you're standing there, what, should I get the steak or the hamburger? And somebody says, hey, what do you charge for portraits? Or you're at a business meeting or something. And so that's not really the place to give the time and the quote, but you're there and they are asking you. So they're obviously a warm prospect. So I ask a couple questions like, oh, were you thinking of having a photograph? Oh, your family. Oh my gosh, no wonder you're so busy. You got 3 children. Holy cow. Me too. And we just talk for a minute. But then I'm saying, we can do one of two things. I don't carry. You can carry business cards, and some people like those, but I just give these little these little blank cards with a pen, and I'm like, tell you what, you got a great idea here. I'd love to talk to you. And of course, the meeting's about to start, or I got to run, or whatever. Jot your name and number down on here for me, and I'll give you a buzz when I get back to the office, or I'll give you a call tomorrow, or whatever is good for you, and let's talk about it. And if someone's really interested, they will. And if they're not, they're like, oh, I didn't really mean it. So you're not wasting time giving out cards. Or at least if they don't want to give a phone number, say, or at least throw me your email, or if you got a Facebook page, I can shoot you a message at that point, just so you make a connection. So when you leave, you got someone that's expecting to hear from you to give them further information. So always be ready. When you least expect it. I've had it happen in the movie theater. I've had it happen all kinds of places. People go, oh, you're the portrait guy, right? How much do you charge for portraits? That's a very common question. Just be ready to take care of that.
Right on. And that's a beautiful way of doing it, too. So that brings us to number 7.
Yeah, often we talked about getting famous. We'd know it when we were in line paying for something, maybe with a credit card or a debit card that shows your name. And because I get asked all the time, or now they kind of know, because I live in 10,000 people or less in this town, so I think everyone knows me twice over. But they'll say, are you that Morelli guy? Are you yes, I am. And so people are around you. Like if you're in a line paying for something, because this is specifically what I'm referring to in number 7 here is they'll say, you did my brother's senior portraits or something. That's usually what or I've heard so much great about you. I've seen your photographs up at the mall or whatever. And I'll say, speak in a friendly but a loud enough, clear voice that people around me can hear me say, yep. Boy, we're busy, but I'm in my 40th year. We're having a ball. It's great. And in this case, I'll say, yeah, the mask mandates have been dropped. We're back up as busy as ever. And people around me, I've had someone tap me on the shoulder. Hey, I've heard about you. Do you have a card? And refer back to the previous discussion here. I'm always ready for them. So always be ready to act positively. Don't ever say anything. If somebody says, you Morelli? Yeah. How's business? It's kind of slow, but you don't do that. Be upbeat, be positive. Even if you're speaking in future tense, we are really busy 6 months from now. You can mumble under your breath because you know you will be. But when you're paying in line, get ready for that. My wife works at a large hospital, and she gets it all the time. And she used to jokingly say, they'd say, are you Tom Morelli's wife? And she'd say, why are you asking? She knows Chuck Lewis questions. But then she said, I guess it's okay. So get ready for that question as you get more famous in your community, and make sure that you're ready to answer that.
And number 8 is one that I can really relate to because, boy, have I had this one happen a lot. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a great example of look sharp, act sharp, be friendly, because when you're changing or installing for the first time or changing out your displays and exhibits where your target markets are shopping or dining or whatever they're doing there, be ready for them to say, are those yours? Because people don't know. Maybe you work for the restaurant or work and you're just changing them out. They don't know you're the photographer. So I say, yes, my name's Thomas Morelli, and that's my name on the corner there. And oh, I love these. We come in here all the time. And boy, you had one up last month of a little girl with flowers. And I have a daughter that age. I can't tell you the times that I've gone over and I'll say, do you have one of my lift cards? And I'm like, what's that? And I'll just grab it and say, take this with you and look this over. I'd love to talk to you, instead of necessarily the blank card, because a lift card has all the things on it that we hope will convince them to give us a buzz. But having that double edge approach where they've got a lift card, but you're personally handing it to them and maybe shaking hands if you're now shaking hands, or at least being friendly with them. And they're actually creating third-person testimonials because they're like, oh my gosh, every time I come in, there's so much great stuff. I tell everybody how great you are. And you haven't even photographed them yet, but you're great based on what they've seen. So you let them do a little bragging. Oh, really? What do you like about them? Well, I like that they're soft, that kind of thing, things you might do off of your phone script. And it just is amazing because other tables are listening. And someone else on the way out will go, hey, Morelli, hey. And pretty soon I've had rooms down, Morelli's here, and they give me a hand. And I'm like, I'll take a free pizza to go. Who wants to pay for it? But anyway, be very aware of your surroundings when you're installing or changing out those displays or exhibits, because there are a lot of prospects there that might be watching you that are looking just for a sign that you're approachable.
Absolutely. Very good points, Tom. Excellent stuff. And now, number 9.
This one, you have to be a little careful, but it's worked well for me because when I had nobody in my studio, when I first started out, I would be like, where do I find people? And of course, I had gone through friends, relatives. I need a 4-year-old to photograph for an exhibit or whatever. So, but I found that if you're a newer photographer or newer in your business and you're taking walks regularly, go for a walk in the park or on your street or in the mall. Uh, people are out walking their pets or their children or the dogs. And a lot of times, especially in a small town setting like I'm in, we'll smile. Hey, how are you today? Boy, the weather, that kind of chit chat. But if they've got a child or a pet or something, it's, oh my gosh, what's your doggy's name? And if there's a child, they'll tell you the name. And you get this little conversation. So the person realizes this isn't someone, that's just hitting up a conversation for no reason. They have a daughter. And I'll say, well, my daughter's about your age. Oh my gosh, or something like that. So you have to be, you can't be creepy about this. I guess that's the word I'll use. You can't just go up and go, hey, what's your daughter's name? You can't do that. Not that anyone listening here would ever do that. But no. I'm just saying that look for those opportunities because a lot of times conversations will strike up and you're not looking to hard sell, but you can go, I've often said, boy, that her hair is so curly and beautiful, and your family is so sweet. I'm starting a photography business. I've been going for a while, but I would love to photograph you. I won't charge you. All I need is your permission. That will put you in some of our displays and exhibits and some of our online marketing. And we'd absolutely love to do that. And just get that conversation going. And you'll be surprised if people go, yeah, we'd be helping. That's especially if they like you. Yeah, we'll be willing to help you out. And they may or may not invest in anything. Usually they do. But it's just another. I'm talking if you got no clients, this is one way that I found that has worked for me in the past.
It's interesting, Tom. Back when I was understudying with the great Donald Jack in Omaha, Nebraska, and I was still wet behind the ears. I didn't know anything about marketing at all. Here's a man who's been in business for 25 or 30 years, extraordinarily successful, has 4 studios throughout Omaha. The man's just amazing. And I remember him. In fact, I can picture in my mind where I was sitting in his studio when he told me this. He said, a lot of times I'll go out and walk through a mall and there'll be someone with a lovely child and I'll come up to them and say, oh, your daughter is just beautiful. I'm a local photographer. My name is Donald Jack and blah, blah, blah. And that's exactly what he would do. And I was just shocked. Here's a man who's been in business for so long and is so successful and wealthy. And he's still doing that. And I never expected to hear him say that. And it's a very good point, Tom. Good stuff. What's number 10?
Number 10. This ties in a lot with the exhibits and displays and becoming famous in your community. In the days now of how easy it is to do online shopping with Amazon and others, I still do my best to shop locally as much as possible and patronize the restaurants, the clothing stores, the hair and nail salons, whatever it is, the bank and so forth, and personally go in and meet the people and shop local so they know who I am. And you also get to know the business owners. So I'm not talking so much chains, a large chain. Mm-hmm. I'll talk, and this is nothing against them, like Hobby Lobby is a big chain, so you're not probably going to walk in there. But if you're talking about a small restaurant or any other service industry, florist, things like that, if you just rub elbows with those people and shop locally, they appreciate it, and they will in turn come back to you because you get to talk to them. And so when somebody says, yeah, we need a photographer, well, Tom Morelli, I know him very well. He'll take really good care for you. And often I've had people say, talking to you reminds me, my wife really wants to get something done for the family. How much do you charge for? And you go down through that flow chart. Or, hey, they'll say, oh, I see you posted photographs of your daughter. I'm like, yeah, I can't believe she's going to be a senior next year, class of 2023. And they'll say, well, I didn't think about this, but I have a senior coming up next year also at the school. How much do you guys charge for that? Or we're going to have a baby. You name it. All these conversations can come up while you're locally, physically there, investing in whatever they are offering for sale so that you're partaking in their services. They'll return yours. I don't think God love him, Jeff Bezos probably isn't going to show up at my office. Who owns Amazon? I think he owns Amazon, right? That's I got the right guy.
Yep.
I get my billionaires mixed up, but he's got bigger fish to fry, like going into space. So
Yeah, things like that.
Just that little stuff. But if you're shopping locally, I do as much as I can for various reasons beyond just trying to get more business for my photography business, but because I feel good about it. But I know all these owners, and if you need something, you need a prop or you need something, you're like, oh man, I know somebody that would have that for this one session. I need a whatever piece of furniture just for this one thing. And I've had people lend me things that clients ask for. So just getting to know those people as a business owner in your area is extremely valuable, can get you all those exhibits and get you lots of referrals.
Absolutely. And very good 10 points there, Tom, and I totally endorse every one of them. And you can see that we're not talking a huge amount of money in these things that Tom was just talking about. We're talking about your time. And you're saying you don't have as much business as you would like or that you need. The key is to realize there are things you can do to get yourself out of the studio and start getting to know these people, and it will just build and build and build. Thank you so much. And now I've got a couple pointers that I just wanted to add, Tom. One is dealing with the local mall. I have been very fortunate to have a long-standing relationship with the second largest mall in Grand Rapids. And I had an exhibit for, it must have been at least 20, 25, 30 years in that mall, all because I went in and I talked with the promotions director and struck up a conversation and asked her how I could be of help, knowing what I know. And I ended up doing photographs of all their shows that are now just starting back up again, doing all their house and home and garden shows and all those things, photographing all of them, creating albums for them in return for an exhibit in the center of most of the time in the center of the mall. Not always. Sometimes we had to move it around, as Todd will tell you, because guess who got to move them many times was Todd. And unbelievable what that did. And then the second thing I did with them is getting to know the promotions director. She was often talked because she dealt with all of the people, all the stores in the mall. She's not like the mall manager whose interest is just getting more paying space, get people in there to pay for stuff. She was dealing with all the people, and she said, so many of them are asking me about, do you have any training programs? Do you have anything that we could do to help our new staff? Because, retail has a high turnover, to help learn sales techniques and stuff. And I said, oh, hey, just so happens I do that. I travel all over the country teaching this stuff. Why don't we put together a little monthly get together? And so we formed isn't that terrible? I can't remember the name of it now. She had a real clever name, where we would get together once a month at a local restaurant, sometimes in the mall, sometimes not. And I'd teach a little bit on sales techniques and things like that would help new employees. You're building the relationship with someone. I mean, I can't imagine where I would have been if I hadn't had exhibits all over the community. I had a dozen of them all over the community, but the one in the mall was one of my most successful. And then the other thing is right along the lines with what Tom was just talking about, building relationships with other businesses. How about a bridal shop? If you're into photographing weddings, and even if you're not, even if you would just like to create beautiful bridal portraits of a girl in her gown, it would be really nice if you would start a relationship with a bridal shop. And Sherry and I did that. We became really good friends with a person who owned a small bridal shop in town. And she would lend us dresses to get fabulous samples. And then on top of all that, one day I just got this wild hair idea. I said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to put on a bridal show. And put it on ourselves. We'll just put on a bridal show. And I didn't know anything about bridal shows, but she did. And so between the two of us, we put together and we got a radio station involved and we got other vendors involved. And we had we called it Everything in Elegance, and put on this great show with dresses. And I showed a reflections program during it. And so I was up on stage talking about that and how much it meant to the bride and groom and all this stuff. So you're becoming more visible. We also had tables with booths there of other people and other vendors. You can do this stuff. You just have to get yourself, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? That's what you got to ask yourself. If I go in and I ask, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? They could say no. Well, how do you feel about that? Well, it's no now. I haven't asked, and the answer is no. So why don't I try? Why don't I go out there? And you have to do this to make your business successful. It's not going to make itself successful all by itself. We can help you. We can guide you. We can give you the system. We can give you the plans. We can give you the lists. But you're going to have to go out there and actually take action. And that's one of the things that impresses me so much about Tom, is Tom would get the idea. We'd talk about things, and next thing I know, he's doing it. He just goes out there and he does it. And that's what you need to do to be successful. Thank you, Tom. Wonderful stuff today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Remember, if you don't do it, it's not going to work. So don't just listen to this and go, hey, that's a great idea. Hey, look, pizza.
Yeah. Hey, Netflix has got a new show on tonight.
Yeah, and also, I love the turkey law. Look at those suggestions and say, or look at those ideas and go, if Tom Morelli the turkey can do this, so can I.
I haven't talked about the turkey law in a long time. Thank you, Tom.
All right. So next up, thank you, gentlemen. Great stuff there, by the way. And thank you, Tom, for not only suggesting that subject, but also bringing great ideas, again, in play ideas that you're utilizing yourself every day to the table. So thank you for all of that, both of you gentlemen. Next up is our mini role-playing example for this month, which is tied in, as we mentioned earlier, to our question that was submitted by David. So, gentlemen, I will turn it over to the two of you to do a mini role-play to deal with David's great question.
Now, one thing I want you to understand before we start this role play is that this is not the first time that I have met Mr. Morelli, right? Because I probably talked with Mrs. Morelli. Let's say it's a family portrait. Okay, just take that for an example. I probably talked with Mrs. Morelli, but probably Mr. Morelli wasn't there at the design consultation chat, no charge, no obligation. Then I met him during the photography, obviously, and started to build a relationship with him because I'm having so much fun creating all these beautiful images of everybody who matters the most in his life. And we had some nice little conversations and got to know him a little bit. So now he comes in to see the images, and we're going to project them, of course, and make a big deal out of this because it is a big deal. It's, for many people, it's a once in a lifetime thing. But I know him already now. Okay. I mean, I don't know him as well as I know Tom Morelli today here, because we've been working with him for a long time. But I do know Mr. Morelli, the client. And so how I speak with him is going to be based on the fact that I do know him and he does know me. Okay. But Tom, I'm just going to have you give me a little tough time. So yeah, let's say we're in the projection room and we're projecting the images, and maybe I'm at the point where I'm totaling everything up. We're all done. They've picked their wall portrait and the frame, and they've gotten some slightly smaller sizes for gifts and things like that. And you like them, you like the images, everything's good. And then out of the blue almost, Tom throws me something about, make it less money, that's too much, something, like that. Or if we take David's example, I just had a client ask to get 3 8x10s for about half our price. You could do that. Whatever you feel like. And I just want all of our members to get a feeling as to how we deal with that. So we're in the middle of the projection session. I'm totaling things up, and Tom hits me with this.
Well, that's how much? I
know.
Oh my God.
If you want to, Tom, it's okay if you want to let out a little scream of pain, because the pain will pass and you will have these images and you will love them.
Oh, I'm sure you did a great job. I'm sure.
Oh, thank you.
They're beautiful. But, we're getting as much as we're getting for the wall portrait, and there's the 3 8x10s are for relatives. Since we're getting 3 of them, and a lot of places give like a quantity discount or something on it, I really would like to see if we can negotiate this a bit. Maybe I'm thinking about half of, because those extras are, can we get those down to about half of what they are? Just so that I'm not quite hurt so much here.
I understand. I totally understand what you're asking, but I just can't do that. Now, I already talked to you about the fact that the second 8x10 is less expensive than the first. You get 20% off. And then the third one, you get 20% off the second one. So you have saved a significant amount of money. But, it just wouldn't be fair to all my other clients who are investing with us if I discounted it any more than that. As much as I would love to be able to discount them, I just can't. Our fees are very carefully calculated to be as low as they possibly can, and still to allow us to make a profit, of course, which is important, or we won't be here next year. And also to make sure that I can take the time and the great care with the creation of these images. You do love these images, right?
Absolutely. But how about, like, if you can't go half, I'd hate to have this be a deal breaker and just sort of walk away from all this, because these are really good, but I just, and my wife would probably be upset, but, if we, could knock like 30% off, like you gave me this total of XYZ dollars, if you can save about 30% off that total, then you got a deal. And I've got cash right here. I can write you a check. How's that?
Well, like I said, I would love to, Tom, but there's no way I can really do that. Things are, we're very carefully calculated on exactly what our fees are, and I just cannot do that. And if it means you're going to get up and walk away, I'm very sorry to see you lose out on having these beautiful images in your home. And but I hope you understand that I can't do that. How do you feel about that?
Well, if I'm going to live at home, I guess I'll have to bite the bullet. But
yeah, and of course I didn't do this, but let's ask Karen. Karen, how do you feel about what Tom is saying?
And she would sing, "It only hurts for a little while."
Yeah, because we play tennis.
Yeah.
I would just go to Karen and ask her how she feels about it. And most of the time she's going to say, "Come on, Tom, these are beautiful. True. These are gorgeous. Give me a break." Don't try to cheat, man.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chuck. Sorry about that. A little delay here, but I have been many times where this did come up, and I would ask the one who booked the session, which is usually the wife, and she would. I've seen them like hit the guy's arm gently and say, "Look, you got a motorcycle." Or, "Listen, you went on that trip to the football game and spent like $3,000, 2 months ago. So this is for me, So that's a very common thing, and I love that if you ask the quiet person, because they're going to be on your side.
Yeah, and there's this old saying that says "still waters run deep."
That's right.
And sometimes the quiet one is the one that really gets the final say and really is, deep in the thought of all of this stuff. So that helps a lot too.
Thanks, Chuck. Great stuff.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
All right, nice work, gentlemen. Great mini role play tying back to David's great question. It's just a great episode all around. Let's continue the greatness by jumping into our Lewisized law of photography success. Each month we like to give you a law that is as powerful as the law of gravity. It's a law. That's why we call them laws and not just, hey, maybe, kind of, sort of. These are laws of success. Dad, what is our Lewisized law of success for this month?
Yeah, it's the steam engine law. Now, I'm really into steam engines. Okay, I'm really into the space program. I really like that, and I follow it very closely. But I'm really into steam engines. I am just so intrigued with how they run and how quiet they are, and I just love them. I've got a model of one. I'm into steam engines. Well, with a steam engine, you don't just go over there and turn the key and the thing starts up. You got to go over, you got to get the wood. Okay, so you got to go out, you got to chop the wood, and you got to split the wood, and then you got to bring it over there, and you got to put it into the boiler or underneath the boiler, and you got to fill the boiler with water, and then you got to light the whole thing up, and then you sit around, and you sit around, and you sit around, and what else can I do? Sit around until finally it gets a head of steam going, and pretty soon the thing starts moving. That's a steam engine. And your photography business is, just think of it as a steam engine, because what it takes is you've got to put all this stuff in. You've got to put the work in, just like if you were working with a steam engine, you'd have to do the chopping of the wood and all that stuff and the oiling and the greasing and all this stuff. You got to put that in, and you may not see anything right away. You say, okay, I got the fire going. I got the water in the boiler. How come this sucker isn't moving? And that's the same way with your business sometimes. You put the work in and you don't see any results, but you don't give up. You don't quit because you're following a system. This system works. You follow our system, it works. But it may not work overnight instantaneously. So you keep doing this stuff, and it's like social media, Tom, right? You do one post and nothing happens, and you say, oh, well, Facebook doesn't work. That's laughable, right? Because you have to build it, work. Pretty soon the steam gets up and things start really rolling. And that's the way it works with your business. So the Lewis law of success for this month is the steam engine law. Always remember, you got to put the work in to get the results out.
That brings us nicely to our final subject for this issue, our lighting and posing tip with Tom Morelli. Tom, you got a fascinating one. Know thy equipment like the back of thy hand. Tom, take it away.
Yes, I was feeling kind of like, Father Morelli, so I thought I'd throw a little old English in there. Recently, I don't normally invest in new photography equipment when I don't have to. I always buy, slightly used or loved or last year's model, which is greatly reduced. However, I had seen a little bit of lighting equipment, and this is something I use once in a while with high school seniors with head and shoulders poses. It adds a little sparkle to the eyes, it's called an eye lighter. It's a real simple piece of equipment, nothing fancy. I'm sure you've all heard of it, but it's basically a curved piece of shiny material on a light stand that goes under the subject's eyes or under the chin, out of sight, of course, and it just lights up the iris a little bit. So I thought, well, I'm going to try that just for fun. I liked how it looked on something that I saw. So I've been using it on my high school seniors. However, it came on like a Saturday. It was delivered, and I had high school seniors starting on Monday. So I said, I better check this out because I've had bad things happen before. So I set it up. And I asked my daughter, Charlotte, who's such a good little model. She's so pretty. So I said, come on in, help Dad out for a minute. And she was laughing because, I dropped it. I was fumbling. I'm trying to get parts hooked together, and it tipped over. All the things that you don't want to have happen in front of a client. And my daughter's like, Dad, it's a riot. She goes, you're kind of mumbling to yourself, and you're rubbing your chin, and you're going, no, that's not right. She goes, you're not going to do that for your clients, are you? And I said, no, honey, that's what family's for. So we ended up, having a beautiful portrait of her, and it did what I was hoping it would do. But my lesson from this was that no matter what you get, don't try things out on your clients for the first time, whether it's a new lens, a new camera body, any piece of equipment, because something can and often does go wrong that you didn't think about, or you're not sure how to use something, and nothing will cause their confidence to drop, and the fun gets kind of taken away from the session if you're worried about, oh my gosh, this isn't working right. I don't understand this. Get that all out of the way. Rehearse, practice. It's like I play in a band. We rehearse well before we do any kind of performance because we want that to be flawless and seamless as it can be. So you should know how to use every single piece of equipment and spare batteries, all those things that you have to be ready, especially if you photograph weddings where you don't get a second chance. Make sure you know thy equipment like the back of thy hand. Now go and prosper.
I like it. Nice. Great final tip there to wrap us up for this audio issue. Thank you, gentlemen, for all of your great insights into this. I hope all of you members listening to this are going to listen to it again and are going to make note of this and apply this stuff. It's not enough, again, just to listen to it. You got to apply it. You've got to take it and utilize it. So we're thrilled to be bringing you new audio issues each month, new video programs and live events each month. Continue coming to the online vault for any questions that you have in your photography business at all. Tom, I'll give you a moment or so to say any last thoughts you have for our members, and then Dad, you can wrap us up.
Yeah, we talk so often about branding, and you are your brand. So when you're connecting locally with people, that is really the most important thing is how they feel about you, because I love the saying where it's as much the photographer as it is the photography, and far more, in my opinion, if they like you, if they want to work to you, if they're attracted to being around you because you're an upbeat, positive, passionate person, then your photography, although it has to be as humanly possible, the best you can create, is not as important as their experience and how they feel after they left, working with you, and tell all their friends. So remember that you really are what's attracting people to your business, and the other is kind of secondary. And other than that, listen to this several times and hope you have a great month.
Yeah, and Tom, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your 10 great ideas there and suggestions. I know they're all tested and proven by you, and that means a lot to us that you took the time to share that with all of our members. And I'm going to end the way I started. Many people are attracted more to passion than to saving money. You don't always have to discount your work. You don't always have to think of money, money, money only. Show them your passion, like Tom is doing when he gets out into the community. He's showing them his personality, his passion, his enthusiasm, his humor. Okay? Don't try to be a little Tom, though. Be a big you. Use your personality and get out there. But Chuck, I don't really love to get on, kind of introverted and quiet. Well, I can relate to that because I was too. But you can and you must get over that and get out there, because you are the brand, and you're building a brand that people are going to be willing to pay extra for because of your passion and your enthusiasm and your reputation in the community that you have made by being out there instead of sitting in the studio hoping the phone will ring. Thanks for being here today. It was a pleasure and an honor, and we'll talk to you again next month. Bye-bye now.